Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk a bit about my first impressions with Khali's bossing, and I wanted to go over a little bit of the setup here. First and foremost, your trinodes, just in case you haven't gotten your trinodes already. Void Rush, Resonate, Hex, Art's Flurry, Void Blitz, Death Blossom. Those are your trinodes in whichever order they come to you in. So it's really nice. You only need uh, 4 of those slots in your matrix for those kinds of nodes. Now, I'm not high enough level to have a lot of the bursting skills like Conversion Overdrive or Grandest Goddess, but those are great for bursting. And also Last Resort, I don't have a slot for yet, but that's also great. Venom Burst, I'm not sure you really need to have that on. I am not used to playing Thieves, so if you think that's really important, let me know. And Combat Orders is great, I just don't have a slot for it yet. Combat Orders will increase your final damage by quite a bit, because it does boost your 4th job skills that give final damage and ignore defense and boss damage and stuff, so it's really, really nice to have Combat Orders as well. But the main idea here is Khali has low-ish crit rate, so it needs a little bit of help getting to 100%. So this is what my Legion setup usually is for bossing. Even with a little bit extra crit rate here and a couple of classes that give crit rate, like Nightlord for example, I need to take Bowman's Link skill in addition to Phantom, in addition to Beast Tamer to get to 100% with Sharp Eyes. So if you're having trouble getting to 100% crit rate, this class just needs a line of crit rate somewhere other than like regular Link skills, so that's why I'm taking Bowman Link skill at the moment, and I have Sharp Eyes that I do use for bossing. You could get it on Inner Ability or a line on your weapon, I guess, and use a different Link skill, but I find this is an okay band-aid solution for now for me to get to 100% crit rate. And as far as comboing in bosses goes, so Khali does not have a class bind. It has to use Erda Nova for its bursts, so I've leveled mine up enough to get to cooldown of 3 minutes, which Khali does have a 3-minute burst, so your mini burst is kind of not great. Your sustained damage is okay, though, that makes up for it. Basically, your burst is going to consist of using your Oblivion, your Resonate Ultimatum, and you're going to be putting down your Death Blossom on the boss, which will create a lot of chakri, and your Oblivion makes your Hex skills, your Chakram ones at least, have 50% reduced cooldown. So as chakri are appearing from the Death Blossom, you will be using your Hex skills to pop them to create extra damage on the boss. And then you also have your 5th job Hex skill here, Pandemonium. That's great to drop whenever it's up every 30 seconds. You do have a 3-minute burst skill that is a really long iframe, but you don't really want to depend on this as an iframe. Just use it as a burst skill. It does a ton of damage. So after you've gotten a bunch of chakri out and your Hex skills are on cooldown, you'll use Void Burst to wait for your cooldowns to come back, and then you'll do it all again, if that makes sense. And then I also have the iframe on a comfortable position. You can't attack while Desert Veil is on, but it's a nice iframe to get out of a tough spot. And I am not sure what does and does not get eaten up when you're in Dark Sight, because Khali does have situational Dark Sight. Every time you dash, you get Dark Sight, or use a Void skill in general, you get Dark Sight for a couple seconds. So I'm going to show you a VOD here in a little bit where I'm like just figuring out what I can and can't do with that Dark Sight. So I'm still getting used to that. Obviously make sure you have your Summon Chakri toggle on. Void Enhance, I'm not sure you really need in bossing. It just makes your Void Rush go a further distance. If you think you'll need to get out of a tight situation, often turn it on for the extra distance. But I've been trying to boss with it off for now because it just helps to not get too far away from the boss. So yeah, I made a Chakri, so Hex skills activate the Chakri here. And so your Chakram Split does a ton of damage. Make sure it hits on the way out and on the way back. Chakram Fury does a ton of damage, but you have to be very, very close to the boss in order for it to hit. It has a very short hitbox. Chakram Sweep I mostly just use to activate Chakri. It doesn't do too terribly much damage. Or like if Damien is floating up, I'll like jump up and then use it to hit him to get extra damage. Void Rush, I mean, it does reasonable damage, but the main reason for using Void Rush is to get Crescentum and to make Chakri appear because it is one of your Void skills. And then obviously Void Blitz is also nice to get more Chakri out. And you can really quickly just use Void Blitz, Crescentum, Void Blitz, if you want to just get a bunch of damage standing in place and create some Chakri. Crescentum does do an okay amount of damage, considering you're mostly just using it to combo to get some Chakri out. Other than that, your Art's Flurry is what you're going to be using in between skills. It does have that 5th job passive that makes it do a huge slam every so often, so it's great to be weaving in some Art's Flurries as well. And that's kind of it for now. I want to open up this VOD now. So let's review this bossing VOD that I took the other night. I'm doing Lomian and a lot of lower tier hard bosses like CRA, Hard Magnus and stuff. But basically I'm just all buffed up here. Nothing really special about it. And I was seeing if I forgot what my buttons were for a bit. So I jumped into the laser here. With that one skill I set, the Hex skill that doesn't really do a lot of damage. So I'm still, what I do in Lotus at least, is I just, I'm basically doing a 3-minute burst here. I put down Death Blossom with my 3-minute cooldowns on. I'm activating Chakri all the time as they're created. I'm using that 3-minute long iframe to cheese the laser a little bit. 3-minute iframe, a 3-minute damaging skill that has an iframe tied in. And so I'm still getting used to Khali here. I'm obviously no expert, but I'm getting used to the combos, and a lot of it is just like get Chakri out with Void Blitz and Void Rush. Since you have a lot of Hex skills, use the ones that do a lot of damage whenever they're up, like the throwing ones and the stationary one. The stationary one is actually really nice. I did it a couple times in this fight. I'll try to pause it once he tries to knock me back here, because it stops knockback and it's really, really good. And I tried to be cute with it a couple of times. I think I did it here, potentially. Nope, just still up jumping. Yeah, there I did it. So, if we go back to maplestory, this Chakram Fury is really great. It stops all knockbacks in addition to letting you air stall. So like, yeah, you can air stall with it, but while you're in that cast animation, you can't get pushed back, and that's really useful, especially in Lotus when he's doing the floor lightning attack. So that's a great skill to keep in mind. It does have a very short cooldown, 12 seconds. So you can use it for damage, and you can save it for when Lotus is doing like platforms, things like that. So I'm using my 3 Void Rushes, like left, right, left, resetting with Crescentum, left, right, left, and using Void Blitz, the other Void skill, to create a bunch of Chakri here. And I'm throwing out Hex skills whenever I notice I have Chakri and whenever I notice they're up. So there are a lot of buttons to push in between bursts if you want to keep your DPS up. There, I'm sure, are optimal ways to do this, but I kind of am just used to, if a button is up, just try to use it. There's obviously like priority on which ones you should be touching when they're up, but for now, while I'm still getting used to stuff, I'm just trying everything out. Yeah, so I really love the dashes. You'll notice in this phase change to phase 3 Lotus here, I just immediately Void Rush over to the right, and I'm like, oh, he did a big piece of trash over there, so I don't want to be there anymore. The mobility and bossing is great. I tried to be smart here and use my knockback resistance Hex skill on that platform, but I got stunned, so I should have Hero's Will so I wouldn't get stunned, or I should have just not been on that platform. Khali actually has really good air stall, even without blink. So, I mean, this is Khali's air stall without blink. You can up jump, you can dash, reset. Well, that was not a really good showing, but you can dash, reset, dash, air stall, back jump. So there's a lot of air stall potential if you're in a weird spot. But mostly just playing around with Lotus here, trying to figure stuff out. I really shouldn't just be always triple dashing Lotus. I should probably save the dash for whenever he does the knockback, because you can just really quickly get behind him like a teleport skill, or you can back off, but you probably want to get behind him because you want to go through him to create the chakri. So playing Khali, you do kind of need to be on top of the boss. I used my iframe here because I was like, there's a Demolisher and there's purple orbs, so I just wanted to be extra safe. Doing a long burst here, I put out Death Blossom, I used my 3-minute buff cooldowns, creating a ton of double chakri from the Death Blossom and the Void skills, and just activating them with a 50% cooldown reduction on the Hex skills when I see them. And I've got that 3-minute burst skill that I'm not sure if I actually used to finish him off, or if I saved that for the next boss. Yeah, I saved that for the next boss. So bursting on Khali feels really strong. Off burst, I'm still getting used to. I'm not sure if the DPS is like super great, but it feels really fun to do it. Which is a huge plus for me. It's just a very active combat style in between bursts and even on burst. It is a lot of buttons if that's not your cup of tea. So we'll go over to Damien. Damien I don't really have down pat just yet, but whenever he goes up in the air and does the Cheetos, I don't know what to do, and I think, at least in this VOD I didn't know what to do, but I think I do know what to do now. It's just try to Void Rush as close as I can to him without touching the Cheetos, and just make a bunch of chakri, and then just throw chakri at him whenever he's up there. Also, this patch, Damien's sword just doesn't activate for like a minute sometimes. I don't know if that's something you guys have experienced. Yeah, so I'm just not sure what to do with Cheetos. I did not really try if I could be in Dark Sight under the Cheetos. That would actually help quite a bit doing some DPS there. And again, once I'm able to roll Invulnerability, cooldown skip, that's going to be fantastic because it does reset your Chakram skills, your Hex skills. It also resets Crescentum, which resets your Void skills, so it's going to be a huge DPS increase if you have any kind of cooldown skip, Invulnerability, or Monster Life. So I can't wait for Honor Reset Day, because that's going to make bossing just that much better. Yeah, so I'm like, what can I do here? And I think I just need to up jump and just dance on top of him with Void Rush and Void Blitz, and reset it with Crescentum, and just use Hex skills to make the chakri activate while I'm up there, because of all the air stall I just showed you. I could just use that aggressively instead of defensively. But I went into Damien without my 3-minute burst just because I was like, I don't want to wait. So I'm binding him, and I'm using my 3-minute burst now with the double chakris and the reduced cooldown hexes, and just basically, you know how like a beginner would play like a fighting game, they would just like button mash and like hope that they do combos? That's kind of sometimes what I'm doing here, because between all of the Chakram hex skills and the Void skills coming up, there's just a lot currently for my brain to try to figure out like what to use when. So I'm kind of just button mashing sometimes just because I'm like, well, if I hit the boss, it does a lot of damage, but I know there's going to be an optimal sequence that I'm not doing yet. So a lot of this week in bossing, I was just like seeing what was possible mostly. So I don't have an optimal combo guide for you aside from like, yeah, just use your void skills and your hex skills when they're up, and you got your arts skills as well. You know, those will do quite a bit of damage in between everything as well. So again, just a lot of buttons to push. I forgot to push my 3-minute damage plus iframe skill for some reason again. I keep forgetting I have that, which is really weird because Adele has the same button. It just takes longer on Adele, I guess, and changes the background a little bit more, so maybe that's why I remember to use it more. And something I learned about Damien actually yesterday is, so if you're playing with enemy border outlines on, like you see Damien's like glowing colors whenever I'm attacking him, what Damien does, oh yeah, you can stand on the fireballs like right in the middle and he won't hit you with them. What Damien will do is he will turn into a silhouette for like a half a second to a second before he does his huge screen tear full map attack that you have to mash left and right arrow keys out of, that petrification thing he does. And you can bind him when he's in that silhouette phase right before he teleports over to the left to do the, like, I'm gonna kill you in one shot if you're not fast thing. And it'll cancel it. I didn't know that until yesterday, so maybe that'll be helpful for you all. And yeah, I'm just not sure what to do yet in Damien completely. I'm still, part of it is still like, what can I do with Darksight? What can I do with, like, everything else? How do I dodge the blue ball optimally here? Like, I've got all these dashes, but I need to stay on top of Damien, and sometimes he's inside of the blue orb. Yeah, he used Fireball Tornado a lot here. I've been getting weird patterns with Damien where he just does not use Cheetos in Phase 2. I wonder if they changed his RNG a little bit in this last patch or something. But yeah, Damien's practically dead here, so we'll skip through the rest of it. Just not sure how to optimally do him, but the main idea is obviously just do damage. Akechi kind of just dies for me at the moment. So let's skip to... We don't need to watch P. No. Oh, Khali is really good at clearing out this intermediate room in Princess No, thankfully. So if you dread doing Princess No, Khali is just incredible at it because it has so many buttons to push. Oh, Gollux. Let's watch Gollux here. So I went in without burst, but I was like, whatever. And basically for Gollux, what I've learned is just don't be crazy with your dashes, because your dashes are really your teleport to get out of when he does his breath attacks in Phase 1 here, if you're doing Helix anyway. Otherwise, just flash jumping left and right and using a bunch of Void and Chakram skills whenever they're up. Like if I see he's got a hand coming up, or if he's doing a breath attack, I know that's when I can animation lock myself. I framed his breath there because I wasn't going to get out of it because I was dancing too much with the dashes. Khali, I would not burst Phase 1 Gollux. Khali needs to burst Phase 2 Gollux because you need to be relatively close to his head to really do a lot with at least one of your hex skills that does a ton of damage, and then also your Arts Flurry can hit him from the far edge where hands don't spawn anymore, but I just find bursting Phase 2 here a lot easier to deal with. I just hate Phase 2 on Khali. in my limited experience with it. So I use my 3-minute burst. I use Death Blossom and the buffs and stuff. I saved the 3-minute cooldown for some reason again. That's something I'm just not used to pressing. But Golux is pretty smooth on Khali because the dash does help you dodge out of stuff. And I think I really just want to see CRA. Oh, Pap is a jerk, but I'm thankfully strong enough I just bind him out of everything. So there's nothing to really watch there since I'm one-shotting Pap there. So CRA, I'm not using any burst here. I'm just using Hex skills and Void skills whenever they're up, standing on top of the Queen's stress. For Pierre, you want to turn off your chakri toggle, because the chakri, if he changes hats on you, can just heal him a whole bunch. So don't have that toggle on, so you won't be using chakri here. But you can, of course, still use all your other Hex skills and Void skills. So I got a bad pattern where he turned my hat red when he turned red. And I was considering doing the death strat where you just die to lose your hat and then you just burst him down. But I was like, whatever. I'll just wait it out. But yeah. Unfortunate you can't use your chakri here, but it is what it is. And at this point I was like, oh, okay, I'll just like quickly get him down, and I messed up, so I was like, okay, just kill me now. Red teleports, one-shots me, revive, no more hat, and just spam any cooldowns I have to get rid of them while I have no hat for a few seconds. So Pierre is... I've just always struggled with doing Pierre on any kind of character. Even my main, I just can't deal with him. It's a mess. Von Bon is like whatever, but you need to make sure you're not getting animation locked when he does the jump skill. Obviously, the projectile you can just duck or jump over. But I was stuck in, I think, like Void Blitz plus Crescentum, and I couldn't jump out of the jump one-hit KO he just did there. But otherwise, with all of the other abilities, you know, make sure you turn your toggle back on for Chakri here, obviously. Yeah, we got chickened down pretty well. Vellum is also fine. This is where I use Khali's 3-minute burst. So just preemptively buffing up and putting Death Blossom down because it lasts 30 seconds. Binding him and just going to town. And I didn't even need to use the 3-minute skill. So... Oh yeah, Frederic de Blanc, excuse me. Yeah, you should definitely be checking out this shop, because sometimes he's got sparkling red star potions and other goodies like superior item crystals, which you can then go sell later. Or use, whatever floats your boat. Von Leon we don't need to watch. Horntail, I like Horntail, because in the big room, when you summon, you can just throw your chakrams out, and that hits all of his parts, and it's great. So you could just stand on this platform, wait for him to spawn in, push one button, and it's far enough away that you get 2 strikes on all pieces of him, and he just dies. It's so nice. Arcarium, I just used the knockback resist hex skill to one-shot him before he can do any screen tear shenanigans. Pink Bean has a cool trick shot with the chakram throwing. So you stand on this statue until all the statues are spawned in here. Aerial sometimes in the middle sometimes takes a little longer. You throw your chakrams out, you void blitz all the way to the right, and your chakrams follow you and finish the statues off. It's so cool. This class has some fun tricks you can do to speed up little bosses like Pink Bean. But that's essentially it here as far as that video goes for the VOD review. Yeah, so you've got your 3-minute burst, which is incredibly strong in review. Your mini burst is basically just using Death Blossom again, which does create additional chakri, so it's not nothing, but it's like not really a mini burst. You really just have sustained damage and a 3-minute burst on Khali, and make sure you're getting your chakri out with your void skills, make sure you're activating them with your hex skills, and using your art skills in between to reset your void skill for crescentum, and your flurry skill in between to get the big slam attack that you have. The Arts Astra, every 14 seconds it's a big slam. And just make sure that you use all your buttons really when they're up. Chakram Sweep doesn't do the most damage, so you can avoid using that one. It also does knock you back, which you can cancel out of using a void skill, but if you're just trying to do damage, I would only use this to activate chakri. Like, you can use Void Blitz here to cancel out of that knockback, but that's a muscle memory I do not quite yet have that maybe you can practice. And otherwise, yeah, your other two, well, 3, I guess, hex skills are awesome for damage. Use them whenever they're up. Death Blossom is great, and this 3-minute skill makes you invincible and does a ton of damage, so you should just use it. Don't forget to use this like me. I always forget to use this. It's kind of good that you only have Air to Nova. You don't really need to get it too high level because you really only have a 3-minute bind if you're soloing. So, or a 3-minute burst rather, if you're soloing. So, Urda Nova does just fine, class bind, whatever. And remember to use your Desert Veil iframe when needed. I've got Extra Strike on arts, Damage Reinforce on arts, Void Reinforce. Basically, every Reinforce and Boss Rush skill is what we've got going on here. You might want Resonate Range or Arts Spread for training. Because especially Resonance Range, this skill is insane. It gets your mob count so high. And otherwise, yeah, hope this was helpful to you. It's not really a combo video so much as a press the buttons when they're up video. But first impressions with Khali's bossing, really great burst, still trying to get used to its sustained DPS. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, and take care, everybody.